Hello, everybody, and welcome to me trying to talk into a microphone and hopefully getting you guys to listen. Episode 1. Yeah. I mean, I was kind of inspired by Wilbur Soot's Hey and stuff, because I genuinely listened to that at like 2 a.m. And I'm like, hey, I can do that. I can talk about stuff. So while I was thinking of topics to talk about, one of the big topics is because I'm such a video game nerd and a dork, whatever you want to call it, a geek. I've had genuine conversations on what to call it per se. But basically, one of the big video game franchises that explored who I was today was Pokemon. Pokemon, whatever you want, Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all, it's you and me. I know it's a destiny. Well, basically, Pokemon was a big thing that was on TV at the time of me watching Phineas and Ferb as a young kid, right? Just for any of you to know, I'm not the oldest person around. Yeah, I'm younger. Let's just I'm just gonna say I'm younger. But Pokemon, and the big thing that was selling around. Obviously, everybody says schoolyard. Oh yeah, everybody brought their DSs and like traded and stuff. No, I never did that, but I did bring it everywhere. I did bring my DS everywhere outside of school, because you know your parents are like, hey, let's go on a long car ride to this one place. I think the time that I got to the Elite Four in Pokemon Heart Gold was my first game. The time that I got to Pokemon Heart Gold was on a trip to Legoland. That was pretty fun. It was in Carlsbad. And basically, like, even though I've already said what my first game was, one of the reasons I originally did get the first game was because my parents bought me a DS. And it was a DS Lite, to be specific. It was a dark blue DS Lite. I'm sad I got rid of it. But I did get the limited edition Mario Anniversary one later on for my birthday. That one was cool. It was the DSi. The DSi was awesome. But back to Pokemon. Basically, I got Heart Gold because obviously TV commercials work. Little young me would go on Phineas and Ferb, and the next slide over I'd see, oh wow, that's cool. And my cousin Brennan, he had a ton of Pokemon cards, so he was huge on that. So I'm over here like, hey, that's the thing the cool cousin does. You know, the exclusive system we bought almost exclusively for Mario Kart. Yeah, that one. Dude, Mario Kart download play on the DS. That was crazy. But Pokemon Heart Gold was my first one. It was magical. That opening still gets me to this day. And one of the ways to make a grown man cry is to play New Barktown. Yes, it is. I'm not ashamed of that. But basically, like at the time I went camping with my grandparents was when I was just starting off with Heart Gold, right? And at the time, even though I was just starting off with Heart Gold, Black and White had released, or had like just released. When I finally decided to launch it up, and I was on a camping trip with my grandparents. Oh man, it was I'm getting memories because this place, it was like one of those KOA campsites, but there would be like a ton of people that would gather there. It was really cool, and there was a buddy that I had, right? And I'd go on these camping trips almost like every time, and we would hang out so much just for however long we stayed. It was like a week or so. And his name was Reese. He was awesome, I gotta admit. And I remember starting Pokemon Heart Gold with him, like, right next to me. And obviously, it's Pokemon. So, It's Pokemon. So, you start your first game. You don't, especially when you're like 7 or so, you don't know that there's a lowercase button or how to work the lowercases. So, you know, instead of sounding like, oh yeah, Casey, it was more like Casey. Right? So, that's always funny. Yeah, and he had like some little sister that we both found annoying, because you know that's how your big brother and your friend always do. That's just how it goes around, even though I'm an only child. That's just how it do. So I remember initially wanting to name Silver because like, you know, when you go choose your starter, and then after that, like, oh, some guy comes Silver comes robs this dude, right? Yeah, just so you know, I chose Cyndaquil, and I have zero regrets. Typhlosion is still one of my favorite Pokemon. Only under Arcanine, but that's for later in this video. Basically, I remember trying to name Silver after Reese's sister, and I can't remember how old she was at the time. I mean, we were both like 7, so she was probably like 5. Yeah, I haven't talked to Reese in a while. That's funny. But basically, right, I ended up going nah, and then I named him like Bad or something. Like, oh no, bad guy. Oh no, look, bad guy has come to rob the Pokemon. Spicy. Yeah, I remember specifically having to travel to talk to Professor Oak. I mean, don't flame me for not remembering every Pokemon. It's there's like thousands now. There's over thousands, and like Galar didn't make that any better, I can tell you that. Thanks, Sword and Shield. But yeah, dude, Heart Gold was a journey. Like, specifically, I remember the fact of going up like Bell Tower and catching Ho-Oh, because, you know, Heart Gold is the better version. And that's all fun and all, but Ho-Oh was awesome, and the partner Pokemon, Cyndaquil was never out of my first slot. I can definitely tell you that. And honestly, to bring that back up, Cyndaquil does have the best middle evolution. I love Typhlosion, but like, judging from, if you go back and look at Blaziken's middle evolution, like, bro, censor some of that. But Cyndaquil's Quivala, actually, like, I feel like that captured a good middle evolution of a Pokemon, right? But all that aside, basically, dude, like, going up catching Ho-Oh and then like having him as my partner Pokemon was one of the only things as well. The bug catching contests in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, that was my thing, was the bug catching contests. Like, oh my god, I did that so many times. I don't even remember what the rewards were. I don't even think they were worth it. I just kind of liked going around catching the Pokemon. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the battles and all that, but dude, the catching was my thing. That was all me, right? That's why I'd always wanted to complete a Pokedex back then, and I thought I was gonna do that in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But yeah, I actually, even though I have so many fond memories of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Goldenrod Town, I spent way too much time trying to get a Dragonite from whatever that gambling place was, or that game place was, and I sucked at it. Let's be dead honest here. And then there was a little training game you could do, right? Like, I did that with whatever Pokemon I had. I had a Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl was the one I used all the time in that. I had a Nidoking, right? Like, I didn't exactly keep a consistent team. Or not, I did keep a consistent team, but it wasn't exactly balanced. Because you gotta remember, when you're a kid, you like arson. I mean, not exactly arson, obviously, but you like fire stuff. So I'm like, ooh, I might be a fire team, because I can't remember the first gym trainer's name, because it's been so long since I've played Heart Gold. But whoever the first gym trainer was all flying type, and it was Pidgeotto. Or, it was either Pidgeotto, yeah, it was Pidgeotto, I believe. Not Pidgeot. But, like, I was like, oh, if they can do that, I can totally just be a complete fire type trainer. Like, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that doesn't that doesn't exactly work well in the Elite Four. Let's be genuinely honest here. But yeah, since fire types, like one of the, it was like an uphill slope, right? And there was 6 patches in total to the left and right. And in the right bottom one, I cannot, trust me, I cannot remember the name of routes for anything, but I do all this and then I'm like, oh yeah, I can review video games, you know, I can do that. But I caught a Growlithe there, and I'm like, dude, this looks awesome. It's like a tiger, and I already had a Typhlosion at that point. I'm like, yo, this is gonna be like the duo, right? And I powered that Growlithe up. I was a Pokédex, I was a Pokédex completer, and all of my boxes were organized. I wish I was that organized in real life, but like I would dump all the Pokemon into like the first 5 boxes, and then the last 6 would be organized depending on like, oh yeah, they look like the color purple. Let's do purple Pokemon in this one. That did not help my typing at all. Right, but I think I remember releasing a ton of them. I don't know why. Probably because they were filling up the box, and I was like, I don't want to waste all these boxes, you know. But yeah, I caught a Growlithe, and that was right around, like, right before all the bug catching contest stuff happened at like that park. But then you've got to remember, this is Heart Gold and Soul Silver we're talking about. In that training game I brought up earlier with the Poliwhirl, I did my best to go into that like battle arena with it. It was like that was one of the first like 3D models before they fully went in on the 3D models in black and white. Like, oh my god, that's sometimes alright. And that place mesmerized me. I spent so much time there just playing the mini games. I think you can see a trend here. I love the game itself, and even though I got stuck on Team Rocket, and as I brought up earlier, Reese needed to help me on that Team Rocket power. Reese needed to help me in that Team Rocket place because I didn't read something. I was still a little kid. I didn't know how to read much, right? Like I still loved the game itself, but at the same time, you know, I wanted to get everything I could out of the game, right? So little me's like, all right, let's go to these mini games. This is fun. Let's run the gauntlet. And then I saw, you got to remember, little kid me's like, oh man, I like fire. I want to burn down the Pokemon world. Little me just saw in the rewards section on one of them. Oh, it was the karate chopping one, I believe. It was either, there was like one with a rock, like where you had to smash like a rock or run a certain amount of place with a rock or something, and then the other one was karate chopping like planks and seeing who could get down the most planks first, and you had to tap the absolutely living hell out of the screen, right? I didn't have a DS stylus. You gotta remember this. Like DS styluses were out of style to have, so I think that's where I developed my trigger finger. But like seriously, like I went ham on that, and I got 3rd place, or like the 3rd reward first, and I'm like, oh man, like yeah, that's oh yeah, 2 hyper potions is cool and all, or whatever it was, but 1st place was a Firestone, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's go time, it's all coming together. But basically, my little heart went ham onto that, like ham, right? And I was so excited to get that Firestone, and then I saw that it did like absolutely nothing in battle, and I was shocked. I'm like, I have a Firestone still though, right? And that was just the coolest thing to me. So then I went into my inventory, and I decided, you know what? Let's go see this inventory. What does it tell me? Because I remember looking at the descriptions very thoroughly, not the Pokédex descriptions. Otherwise, I wouldn't be allowed to catch a Hypno ever again. But I remember thoroughly looking into like what each item did. Like Hyper Potions said the most amount of HP. I'm like, oh, okay, let's invest all of my money into that. And I remember sending mail because, you know, mom saved money for you and then would send you like berries every now and then. Right? I would send mail back to the mom, and I'd be like, hey mom, How you doing? I mean, that's wholesome, but, you know. Right? I'm like, this is my life. This is Pokemon, but it's my life. My mom's actually keeping money for me. Like, that was so cool to me. I don't know why. Like, immersion as a little kid, like, you can imagine stuff very easily. I think that's where roleplay came from. But basically, like, I would send all that stuff, I'd invest all that. But since I went into the descriptions, I went to the Firestone. And then I saw, like, next to the Pokemon, even though it said, like, the amount of HP and the name of each, I named my Typhlosion something like Flame Slash. Because, you know, you remember, like, Game Center games on your phone? I named myself, like, Flame Slash and Karate Speed and stuff. There's a very few of you who know of my very old channel with that, but I'm not ready to share that publicly yet. Yeah, I mean, it's out publicly, but I'm not going to share the name here yet. But, yeah, I named it something like that, and I decided, you know what, I want to go back. Go back, I want to be Monkey. But, like, you could only go to the name Renamer. You couldn't, like, actually just remove the nickname. You had to rename him. So, not knowing caps, me goes back and spells Typhlosion horribly. Or, yeah, seriously, Typhlosion instead of Typhlosion, right? And I'm like, it was an entertaining sight, for sure. But yeah, I'm looking at this Typhlosion, right? And I'm like, oh man, like, he's got cool HP. I'm like, I can probably use some of this stuff on him. I still didn't know what X speeds and X accuracies did or anything. Or I was still so confused with all that. It was just, it was a time, alright. It was fun. But I remember specifically, like, I clicked on the Firestone, and it let me go to, like, the page where it said, like, unapplicable, or it wasn't unapplicable, unable with all of my 6 Pokemon on there. I'm like, bro, I'm unable to use a Firestone. But there was one who was able to. Guess who it was? My level 50 Growlithe. I'm like, oh man, he says able. Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna use a Firestone on him. So I used a Firestone on him. And that's when he evolved into my favorite Pokemon of all time, specifically because of that interaction. Because little young me was like, whoa, I can use the Firestone to evolve small Growlithe boy into this huge absolute menace of a Tiger Arcanine. And I'm like, man, I was definitely a dog kid, even though I'm allergic to dogs. Right? I'm like, this looks like a big fluffy dog who's ready to do some attacking. And I mean, I didn't know Entei existed back then. I was always a Suicune kid, though. I spent my life trying to catch the Suicune. Never could, but I spent a lot of time doing it, and it would keep fleeing from me. But that was like a clicking point, and he was my most overpowered Pokemon after that. Yeah, I still refuse to take him off my team. I remember after that, there was a lot of stuff of like, oh yeah, go through all the gyms and stuff. Like the Ghost, I think it was the Ghost Gym. That was pretty good. I liked the Ghost Gym. I'm not sure if it was after. I'm really not sure chronologically where everything is placed. Otherwise, if I could memorize where stuff was chronologically, the entire Persona 5 Royal retrospective would be out right now. But sadly I can't, so I have to replay the entire game to get gameplay anyway. But back to Pokemon, because I'm getting sidetracked very easily in this podcast, as you can tell. Right? Like, I still refuse to take him off my team, because he was overpowered, and after going through all this stuff and actually, like, winning, because everything was still weak to, like, fire for the majority of it. Right? And, oh, man, Silver's Totodile was awesome to fight. I always remember, like, slightly struggling with him, but then pulling out, like, something else and absolutely demolishing his ass. Right? I had a Nidoking as well. Like, Nidoking was, like, nailing him in. But after that, I went all the way and did, like, obviously all your Pokemon fights and stuff. And my battle with Victory Road ended up being pretty struggling. And I went up through Victory Road, and I did the Elite Four, and that was harsh on me. Little me had to strategize. He did not know how to strategize yet. He just said attack. Like he woke up and chose violence. But everything was dead. I used all my revives, all of my hyper potions, and my last alive Pokemon. Who do you think it was? No, it was not my Arcanine. It was my Typhlosion, actually. But my Typhlosion was the last Pokemon alive as I got into Lance. By the way, I never caught the red Gyarados because I'm like, I don't know. I liked the blue Gyarados more. No. Because I didn't know how to. I think I nailed it. I killed it before I could get the Pokemon like actually to like a weak enough level, and I just crit hit it. That was great. But back to the Elite Four, I got to Lance, right, and just that was tough. His Dragonite, I remember saving specifically right before that fight because I'm like, my Typhlosion is gonna nail this no matter what. I did not have enough potions to do that. I went back into that save file like years later after. No, I never moved from that spot. I always wanted to beat Lance. But eventually I conceded and went back and decided to level up some of my Pokemon, and I've just kind of never really beaten the game. I mean, I know it's got the entire Kanto region because I played another modded save file on a DS emulator. Sorry, Nintendo. But I played another modded version and went through the Kanto region. That was really fun. By the way, like my first Gen 1 starter is always Blastoise. Like, I mean, I was a well-ranged kid when it came to like starters. Originally, I was all only fire, but once I figured out like other stuff like Mudkip, bro, Mudkip. You say I'm not choosing Mudkip? Like I remember specifically choosing Mudkip my first time, but in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I think I decided to go with Blaziken just because I'm like fire. Let's go back to my roots. I was a lot older then as well. I think that was Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire was like just going into middle school. Yeah, whenever I think that was the game before Pokemon Go came out. But yeah, that was definitely that was fun. But yeah, I was well ranged when it came to starters. Right. But yeah, that was definitely my experience with Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Right. That was my game. That got me into Pokemon. Other than like the trading card game, which I feel like my experiences with the Pokemon trading card game, that deserves its own episode. So I'm gonna do that later. Why not? After that, I dabbled a little bit in Platinum because I used to go to GameStop so much. I never got any of the Pokemon Black and White stuff, like the event Pokemon from there. But before I got Pokemon Black and White, I dabbled a little bit in. No, I got Black and White, and then I never got Black and White 2. But yeah, I never got any of the event Pokemon or any of the Zoras or stuff. I'm surprised how much little kid me actually backtracked as much as I do today. But like, yeah, I'm kind of impressed. I thought I would just be all new games and stuff, because my Wii U collection definitely tells me Wii U me was all into the new stuff like Splatoon and Smash 4. Smash 4 deserves its own episode as well. But yeah, I don't have many fond fond memories with Black and White, but I remember that was the first Leaf starter I chose because I thought Snivy looked the coolest out of all of them. Yeah, the Unova region actually introduced some really cool Pokemon as well, so props to the Unova region. And then it was after that I did my very slight dabbling in Pokemon Platinum. Everybody loves the Sinnoh region, but like young me was like this. For some reason, young me was just like, this isn't Pokemon. This is like a strange version of Pokemon. This is the backstreet version of Pokemon. This isn't Heart Gold. and then Black and White came out. And I'm like, you know, that was definitely a different story there. Going back into the Sinnoh region, I chose Piplup this time because I'm trying to replay it, but my DS won't charge. So that's definitely fun. That's like recently, like a few weeks ago. But yeah, like because of the recent announcements, I wanted to actually see what everybody was hyping over. All these chibis, small chibis. That was fun. Yeah, that was never really my thing. Platinum was never my game much. But 3DS came out, and my parents were all on the thing of oh yeah, the 3D damages your eyes because it is scientifically proven to. So that keep that in mind. We got the more affordable 2DS anyway. But I remember saving up $300 so I could get the XL. Now older me can go back and play all like the Fire Emblem games and stuff. Now that he's a weeb, you know. But yeah, that was all fun and games, you know. I remember specifically buying the 3DS because my friends had like Street Pass. Oh, dude, Street Pass was the stuff. And all right, I should really just go over the DS and its 3DS and its own. I could really go on tangents here, but I'm thinking like I've got to save some stuff for future episodes. If I'm actually gonna make this podcast a series. But like, to be dead honest with you, I played so much Street Pass games, and I completely forgot who it was who convinced me to buy Animal Crossing New Leaf, and I played the absolute living hell out of that. Right, Iggly's still my boy. One of the games that really got me to play my 3DS though, and as you can guess because of the topic of this video, voila, Pokemon X and Y. People flame on Pokemon X and Y a lot more than they should, I think. I think it's very underrated. There's people garbage on it a lot, but that genuinely like engrossed me. Character customization, that was what really like enticed me there. Like I still have a bomb ass character in X and Y, right? And I got through the entire story this time, right? Like all the way through the Elite Four, even past whoever that guy from the Sinnoh region was. That's the agent. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Right? Like I can't remember him. To be dead honest with you. But that's when I was just beginning to become competent. So that's when I was allowed to like look at YouTube and stuff. So hi. By the way, was I one of the only people who wasn't allowed to watch YouTube when they were younger? I think that was me, and then you know, keeping that away from me makes you a YouTuber now. But basically, I looked up all the stuff of where to find the legendaries and all that, and I mean, I never got my story spoiled for me, which really made me happy. Like, I think that big giant dude, his name was A. I'm like, okay, he's kind of cool. I like him. I'm like, let's go A. Whenever like the cutscenes came up, that was really cool. I actually really liked the story of X and Y. Team Flare was a really good choice. I still like the Pokemon cards in that as well, by the way. X and Y hit different. Xerneas is still like fairy type, surprisingly for me. Right, I was in a jiu-jitsu class at that point, and it was me and like I think it was this girl named Leilani, right? Or yeah, for all intensive purposes, we're calling her Leilani. We were just like talking day in day out of all like the Pokemon in like X and Y since all the new stuff released, and Surprisingly, the reason that I figured out she was interested in Pokemon is because I came in with my 3DS and I was battling with a Sylveon. And I had to look up how to get the Sylveon, because you had like to play with the Pokemon and all that. And like Sylveon, surprisingly, as much as like, oh yeah, don't be girly, it was like a huge thing back then, which is it's definitely reduced now, right? But like me trying to be manly is still over here just like, yeah, Sylveon's awesome, you know? Right? And it was awesome. Yeah, I can't really disagree with that. X and Y was really cool because I really enjoyed using fairy types, because they were surprisingly overpowered in X and Y. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, that was definitely really fun because my Sylveon and my Xerneas like nailed everybody else. I got through the entire game. Yeah, but after that, I figured out you could connect online with a 3DS. I didn't know you could do that with a DS. Because, let's be genuinely honest here, other than download play, who knew Wi-Fi existed on the DS when they were younger? But the 3DS, I figured out you could connect over Wi-Fi. So I did. And then I found out one of the biggest things that led me into, like, straight collecting Pokemon. And that, my friends, was the global trading system. Because it was a Dratini. It was a Dratini in a random lake. Or no, it was a random river. And I looked it up. I looked up the location I was to see if Dratini actually spawned there. Right? And they do. So I ended up catching one. And then I went in and saw that somebody was trading a Dialga for a Dratini. And I think they meant to put down shiny because this was a shiny Dialga. And little, like, me at the time, even though as much as I was so into Pokemon, I didn't much know what a shiny was until he traded away his first one. But I got that shiny Dialga from trading the Dratini, and it was so cool because I never knew what Dialga was, because I never played Platinum all the way, remember? And basically I was like, dude, this is so cool. This is so cool. This is a legendary Pokemon, and I think the global trading system is what really just, like, demolished the Elite Four for me. I can't remember when exactly, but like, yeah, the global trading system was crazy fun. I have like almost every legendary. Wonder Trade. Oh man, Wonder Trade. That got me every starter, and I went back. I chose Fennekin originally, but I went back and used Froakie and got a Greninja, and now Greninja is one of my favorite starters. Right? Or Froakie's one of my favorite starters. Like, oh man, just having Wi-Fi with the Pokemon actually allowed me to feel as if I was collecting Pokemon a lot more, and I think that's why I was so invested in X and Y. I got Dialga, I got Palkia, I got Kyogre, right? And I traded. I remember I could not find an Arcanine for the life of me, so then I put up the shiny Dialga for the global trading system for a normal Arcanine, and I got one within like 3 seconds. It was that was definitely a you're dumb from me in the future. But I did eventually get a shiny, or not a shiny Dialga. I always tried to get a Typhlosion, but they screwed with his flames, so he wasn't cool to me anymore. I don't want to play with you anymore. I always thought that sucked, that they removed his flames. I still have zero clue why. They're fixing it in Pokemon Legends Arceus. But I don't know. I always found that weird. But yeah, eventually I did get my Dialga back and nailed X and Y. That was definitely one of the more fun times I had, just messing around in a Pokemon game. After X and Y that I played was Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, because I'm like, oh yeah, it's the new big Pokemon game. And oh yeah, I completely forgot. They introduced Mega Evolution in X and Y. Mega Evolution was my entire thing. I wanted every Mega Pokemon, and I had X, so I had the better Charizard. I had the better Charizard, but the worst Mewtwo. Like, bro, Mega Evolution was, like, the stuff. Like, my Mega Gyarados, I remember, was one of my favorites to just mess around with. Mega Lucario, because the skater chick would give it to you. Right, like, oh, man. Mega Evolution, bro. Like, that was crazy. And going into Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire after that, seeing Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre, dude, like, oh, man. That was the stuff. That was definitely the stuff. And it was... I played so much just for Mega Evolution in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And then, yeah, Wally, dude. And, like, one of the games where you actually have a father. Yeah, crazy, right? Dude, like, I became attached to, like, everything Mega Evolution. That was my whole thing. I was so happy when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire was like all that, and like that was my stuff, because it wasn't the main game. Like, the main game, I beat the main game, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. But it was the post game. It was flying over on Latias and Latios, right? Like, oh man, just flying everywhere. It felt awesome just to be in that thing. But it was at that time I was beginning to become, like, competent with YouTube. And once I discovered that there was legendary hunts, right? I didn't even know there was hunts in, like, Heart Gold and Soul Silver until I was, like, 15. Like, just going into high school. But, like, there was all the different legendaries in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And since I'd beaten the game, I could actually go back and, like, actually go get these. So I went and I got my Dialga. I went and I got, like, I know it was, like, Hoopa was, like, the big one after collecting all of them. But I never got all of them. Man, I keep thinking, I keep wanting to call them the Sprixies, but the Sprixies are from Mario 3D World. But they looked, they were like blue, they were blue Mews with, like, different helmets on them. I caught all three of those. I remember that being tough to catch. But just going around, flying around, and going into these, like red patches in the tall grass to catch, like, specific powerful Pokemon or whatever it was. It like was crazy to me. Like, I think I caught a Suicune, or I finally got Suicune from there. Like, dude, just going through, like, all the boat, or going through that big boat, the whatever you'd call it, that looked like the Titanic, and you could dive and stuff. Diving was so cool to me in Alpha Sapphire. Like, I'd never, like, really used dive other than, like, the few times you could in all the other games. But, like, since it was so water-based, it was so cool. Yeah, IGN with too much water. But since it was so water-based, it was so cool to me. And I went, like, whatever that boat was, whatever the Pokemon you caught down there, I remember, was that I just loved it. Yeah, that was fun. It was genuinely fun, right? And it's crazy. It's crazy to look back on it, because you think of how far you've come. And then after that, Sun and Moon got announced. I think it was the Z moves was the thing. Like, I remember there was a huge space between any other Pokemon announcement that I'd heard of. And then I just randomly heard about it in, like, Sun and Moon in middle school. I was like, nah. I remember thinking Mimikyu was awesome. Like, Mimikyu was cool. But nah, it never hit me. And then they released Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and just, nah, it didn't do it for me. It's funny that the ones that always get the sequels were never the ones that were the big thing for me, right? But going back to X and Y for a minute, what was the Z Pokemon's name? Like, the Z Legendary's name? I can't think of it. It was, like, themed over, like, a Zygote or something, right? Whatever it was, I remember catching him, and that was awesome. Before they screwed him up and gave him, like, 7 different forms. I don't like that. I don't like form changes most places. But yeah, Sun and Moon was never my thing. It never hit me. Z moves were not my thing. It was, and yeah, after that, I really 100% like drifted away from Pokemon for like the longest time. I think I went back into the TCG a little bit. It was for the longest time. Sun and Moon wasn't my thing. But after Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I can't really remember when, but everybody knows Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go. That was my middle school. That was my middle school life. 100%. I think Sun and Moon had released. But dude, it was me. It was me, my buddy Anton. I'll hide the other two's names because Anton's fine being on the channel. But the other two's names were let's just call them Johnny, because one of them looks like they could definitely be a Johnny. Let's call them Johnny and Mo. Let's call them Johnny and Mo. Sure. We went into there was a specific teacher, my film teacher classroom, like his classroom in middle school, and man, that was crazy. I walked home with the other two, with Johnny and Anton, and then Mo would just come around and help us, right? He would stick around just to talk to us, right? But my film teacher was he was the chillest teacher. And everybody started talking about Pokemon Go in 7th grade on one day, right? So everybody starts going buck wild for it. So I'm like, oh yeah, I should download this. Right? I got to level 20, because I don't remember what the maximum was back then. But I know they raised the max crazy by now, because I reinstalled it recently. But that was back when it was just Kanto Pokemon as well. Like, Pokestops were popping up every now and then. And there was a park right by me that had 2 Pokestops at the time. Now it's got 4 or 5. And 2 gyms. But there was a park by me that had 2 Pokestops and 1 gym. And I was the man for that gym. I caught Arcanine instantly, and once Arcanine became in the meta, and everybody started talking about Arcanines, I leveled mine up, and at the time, you know how 1,500 CP was impressive? Yeah, I had that. I would go out on walks every day. It actually got me to go outside. I remember my uncle, the cool uncle, you know, he came over one day and started talking about Pokemon Go. And then there was this specific spot that he knew of, because he played Pokemon Go a lot. And yeah, the cool uncle and the cool cousin, right? Oh, and the cool cousins actually, right? They all were hardcore Pokemon Go fans. I was as hardcore as a middle schooler could be. But there was a place that you could go, and you just went it was right in between 4 Pokestops. It was a street corner, an intersection, but there was a Pokestop on each corner. So no matter which corner you were in, you could hit all 3 Pokestops whenever it regenerated. And there would be a ton of Pokemon spawn there, obviously, and a lot of them were rare as well, which was really nice for completing the Pokedex, because, you know, young me's hey, Pokemon Go, let's complete the Pokedex. And then I go to England, I go to England around November, December time, and there was exclusively Mr. Mime over there. I remember catching him and coming back, and trading wasn't a thing back then, so everybody was just mesmerized by the fact that I had a Mr. Mime. But back to the street corner thing, he took me there, with obviously the cool cousins and my mom, because I got my mom into Pokemon Go. I was that kid. I was cool. But seriously, people gathered there, conglomerates. But you know, before that was banned. But there was tons and tons of people there. I ran into somebody at my school there, who now knew about this Pokestop exploit place, and it was crazy. Pokemon Go. I was Team Mystic because I remember back then Articuno was mine. A lot of my friends went Team Valor actually. But it was rare back then to see an Instinct, And nowadays, people are rooting for the underdogs. And I am so happy that Zapdos is getting its rightful recognition, sure. I don't think that's a word. But yeah, my second choice was definitely Instinct. I was not for Valor. Moltres was not my guy. He looked too skinny. He looked too much like the middle evolution of Blaziken. Right, and I had a lot of fun stuff. I was even featured in a Mailman Monday on Unlisted Leaf. That's a story for the trading card game video. But yeah, that was awesome. And which leads us to present day. I mean, like, present day, you've got Sword and Shield, and we've now got Pokemon Snap coming up. We've got Legends Arceus. We've got Shining Diamond and Brilliant, or it's Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. My bad. Those are coming up. That's gonna be. I'm a report on that game. Legends Arceus looks genuinely like amazing to me. Like, Breath of the Wild is crazy. And man, just any open world game. I've wanted an open world Pokemon game for so long. It's crazy, man. But yeah, Sword and Shield. Even though, like, that's the game that I connected online with everybody because of Switch, right? And like, oh yeah, like that's the game I did the most stuff in. I will admit. I wanted to 100% it because I was all into, like, my buddy Anthony. He was just kind of like, hey, so 100%ing, and one day I decided to 100% Kingdom Hearts 3, and then after that my life had changed for the for the rest of my life. That was at the point that I was at the 100% craze. I ditched Breath of the Wild very quickly for that. No, I'm not 100%ing that ever. But yeah, Sword and Shield was definitely a fun game. The wild area was cool. Hot take, I like Dynamaxing. I don't like Z moves, but I like Dynamaxing because it's like Mega Evolution sometimes, but not all the time. I mean, I'm happy. I would much rather prefer Mega Evolution, but Dynamaxing's alright. I liked Dynamaxing. I increased the hype. And hot take though, the Pokemon Sword and Shield soundtrack was phenomenal. Like, there's been a few Pokemon games that have not had the best soundtracks, but Sword and Shield, even though as much as people give it flack, it had a great soundtrack, 110%. Sword and Shield, that was the first Pokedex I completed and got my Shiny Charm. And then because I got my Shiny Charm, and I hadn't played Sun and Moon, the only Pokemon I was really interested in from Sun and Moon was Mimikyu. And Mimikyu was not cut, so I went and I caught a Mimikyu. It was a Wonder Trade that I got a random foreign Ditto. It was like the whole thing on increasing shiny chances. I got a foreign Ditto, put the Mimikyu in there, and yeah, I did the egg training strategy. And the day that I finally got my shiny Mimikyu was crazy because I had like 7 boxes full. This was late. This was definitely later. Like pretty. I'd say whatever. Was it? It was either 2019 or 2018. I think it was 2019 that Sword and Shield released, and I got Shield, by the way. Yeah, I was that guy. I wanted a Goodra. But yeah, like I got my first shiny, and I don't regret it because it looks like he's in black and white, and it's really cool. But with all Pokemon games, I'm looking forward more to the spin-offs now. Like, new Pokemon Snap doesn't look too interesting, but it looks like it could do something for Pokemon. Legends Arceus looks a lot more interesting. I remember getting really into retro gaming, and I played, I got a Gamecube, and I got a Gamecube and a Game Boy Advance from a local retro game store, which I still commonly go to. And I played Mystery Dungeon. It was whatever the red Mystery Dungeon was, like the first one on the Game Boy Advance. Or like Red Team, I believe it was called. And I did my best to try and make myself a Cyndaquil, but I think it kept giving me either a Mudkip or an Eevee. It was one of the two. I kept trying to reset it. That's when I was in middle school as well, and it had such a complicated name, such the anime name right now, such the Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition vibe to it. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. That's what it was. That's the one I got on the Gamecube, and it's still in my Gamecube, actually. I never got a Gamecube, since it was a retro game store, I never got a Gamecube save data with it, or like a save card with it. I just got the Gamecube, right? And I thought that was phenomenal, right? But I could never save my data. And I tried to leave it on, but my parents like would come in and turn it off because it sounded like it was literally going to explode. Yeah, I think we kind of fixed that out a little bit. But I was never much spin-offs in like the olden days. The olden days, I can say that now, and it's sad. I was never much into spin-offs before, but as of recently, I think the spin-offs are going to be cool. But to be genuinely honest with you, with all of you here listening, whatever, hello everybody. I think that's pretty much all my interactions with the Pokemon. That's all my interactions with the games themselves. Yeah, I mean, I was in the upper levels of elementary school when X and Y released. And when that did release, when it did release, the anime came out with it. And Serena and Ash, right? I dabbled in like small bits of anime before, but it was on Cartoon Network, and it was the only time my parents let me watch Cartoon Network was when Pokemon was on. Right, and it was in the mornings at like 7 or so, because I had to be at school by like 8. And like while I was eating breakfast and my parents were getting ready to go out and stuff and get ready for their day, I'd sit down, eat my cereal. Well, it was Crave at the time. Crave, oh, that's such a good cereal. Right, and I would watch Pokemon X and Y, and that was a genuinely good show, to me at least. Like, because I'd been playing through the game itself, or I had played through the game itself, and to see it like adapted into a TV show was awesome. If I got up like really, really early though, which every now and then I did, I would watch Beyblade, and a hot take, but the Beyblade anime was like really good. Like, I went back to it, and I'm like, out of all the like children's anime, I'm like, okay, the Beyblade one, that's a way to get me to cop your product. I never really got into Bakugan. I never really got into Yu-Gi-Oh. But dude, I had a DS game as well. I am bringing up so much about the DS and 3DS. I should make an episode on it. But I had a Bakugan game on my Wii. That was cool. And I had a Beyblade game on my DS that I played a lot. But in terms of the Pokemon anime, I watched X and Y. I remember dabbling a little bit in when I originally started watching the Pokemon anime, it was all Unova. It was Unova. It was black and white, and that's what really enticed me into the Pokemon anime and like Axew and stuff. But when I really started, like, I was invested in the Unova region anime, but I was never really invested too much in the Unova region game for some godforsaken reason. Sorry, Anthony, don't kill me. But when it came down to it, X and Y was the one I watched all the way through. Or at least the first season. Like, they made like multiple seasons out of the X and Y one. I don't know why. I was also never into the Pokemon. I was never really into the Pokemon animated movies until Detective Pikachu. Now, let me cover Detective Pikachu real quick. They did Charizard dirty, but they did everybody else pretty well. Making Ryan Reynolds into Detective Pikachu was such a good idea. I think I haven't seen a film where Ryan Reynolds is bad other than obviously the X-Men, where he had a very crappy design for Deadpool. But yeah, I adored Detective Pikachu films. Something else as well. I never played the games of Detective Pikachu, but something I spent a lot of time on my 3DS was Pokemon Art Academy. Oh man, that's when I really started like getting into drawing. Was because it would guide me through drawing, and then like I would doodle. I used to doodle a lot in my notebooks. I was never one of those girls who did. I was never like one of those girls who did like the big, oh yeah, bright color stuff. No, I straight up made like entire battle scenes in the middle of my history notes talking about the Aztecs. But I started doodling Pokemon after that. Because it would like, I had a 3DS stylus because I went out and bought another, and it was like extendable. It was pretty cool. But the Art Academy, that got me into drawing Pokemon, and that was really cool. That was definitely that was a turning point for my investment in Pokemon, surprisingly enough. Yeah, the X and Y anime was one of them that I watched a lot. Art Academy, I never played the Detective Pikachu games. Yeah, it's just kind of, you know, what younger video game players would do. But Pokemon is definitely stuck with me. Like, whenever there's a new Pokemon announcement, I'd never really be against it. And yeah, it was in 2018, right when This is gonna sound like I'm sidetracking here, but it was in 2018 when I discovered Persona 5, thanks to Joker being announced for Smash Brothers. After that, like I really started to get into Japanese culture a lot more. I mean, I'd always wanted to go to Japan just because I thought like Japan was so technologically advanced that it would be cool. And then like comes up after I start playing Persona 5 and understanding places there and actually places to go, and like I start actually looking into Japan, that the Rugby World Cup comes up, and my dad's a huge rugby guy, so me and him went to watch rugby in Japan, and it was phenomenal. That obviously wasn't the only thing I did, because I came home with an Akechi figure from Akihabara, but if I could tell you the amount of Pokemon merchandise and how giddy I got whenever I entered a Pokemon Center. Like, dude, okay, here's the thing. I have a soft spot for any of the music from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Like, I'm completely blinded by that. That's why I'm probably not going to do a review on this game. I'd do a retrospective review, as a lot of people do, and OK Ursus does. But, like, man, every Pokemon Center I entered had the Pokemon Center theme from Heart Gold and Soul Silver, or like New Bark Town, and I would get so giddy. Like, I mean, like at that time, I was like 16. Like, still, like you at least have somewhat of a brain on your head by then. But I let myself go whenever I was in a Pokemon Center. I came home with a giant plush Eevee. I came home with a plush of an Arcanine and a Cyndaquil. Just to hint back to my roots, I have like 7 different Pokemon. There was Pokemon vending machines in the airports. Like, it's crazy how big it is over there. Like, dude. Like, it's crazy how big Nintendo is over there, actually, because going into, like, from the airport, you see Mario along the walls, and then right from where our hotel was, you would go to the train station, and there was, that was the time Link's Awakening was releasing. There was Link's Awakening across the wall, and then you'd go into the trains, and there was Animal Crossing telling you train etiquette. And, dude, just the Pokemon centers themselves. We went to the one, it was a place like Jimbachi or something, or it had such a longer name. It was by Hamama Stucho, surprisingly enough. We went to that one. We went to the one in Kyoto. We went to one in Tokyo. Yeah, there was a lot of Pokemon centers around. There was one in by Kobe, in a place by Kobe, as well, because we went there for the second half for the England versus USA game. Right, there was one over there somewhere, and just it seriously brought back memories of just like you seriously felt like your entire childhood was coming back. Oh yeah, I got that was right when the Squirtle amiibo came out, and I have the Squirtle amiibo, and that is the only Japanese amiibo I own. It's so cool. Like, seriously, to say I have a Japanese amiibo, I'm an amiibo collector, and goodbye my money. But dude, just like having like I think this is gonna close the episode off, but having just such a Pokemon past, having grown up on Pokemon and then going into Pokemon centers in Japan was surreal, and just genuinely I think it's crafted what I like today. Like when you go into Akihabara, there's a ton of stuff there that was really it just I mean I rushed straight to the Persona 5 section just to see everything that was there. It was really cool. There was a Final Fantasy section, a Kingdom Hearts section, which I actually got prints from there. That was really cool. And the Pokemon section was pretty big as well. But just growing up on Pokemon and seeing like how widespread it is, how just everywhere it is in Japan, it feels surreal. And just as you can tell from how long I've gone on, I've been talking for about an hour and 10 minutes now, just directly into a microphone. Just seriously, just you can kind of tell, like, I love Pokemon, and I just growing up on Pokemon, like, you can kind of see my roots of what I like. I even bought I even bought like one of those Phoenix balls, I think they were called, that had like the stands, and they were like the glow up Pokeball, because I thought they were just awesome. Like I always wanted a real Pokeball, and you could never really find one, but I did find one in Japan that had like a plush Charmander, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, Pokemon's just, it means so much to me, like surprisingly enough to a video game nerd like me. But yeah, Pokemon. This was the first episode to whatever I want to call this. Let's call it the Something About podcast, because this is something about Pokemon. but don't kush. Yeah, I really came up with that on the spot. If it changes, don't be surprised. But yeah, as you can tell, I just kind of like to talk about stuff. And even though this is my second channel, like, subscribe. And I'm probably gonna get some other people on here to talk about other stuff, because there's a lot of stuff I could definitely easily talk about, but other people would definitely help extend the video. But yeah, that was something about Pokemon, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. So yeah, I will see you guys later.